Hello, divine creations, divine marvels, children of God. Thank you so much for dropping by. Here in California, it's the middle of the day. It's approaching 1 o'clock. And what I've noticed is my day goes so much better. If it's a busy day, and even if I just take 1 minute to stop and tune in. And I'm very grateful that I'm able to take longer times such as this and really tune in and take in some more good energy and remind myself of what's true and what's important. So, for anyone who's new to this or what I'm talking about, what part of what we're going to be doing today is receiving healing life energy. It's very simple to do. Please sit with your legs uncrossed, feet flat on the floor, hands on your legs, palms facing upwards, back relaxed upright, not too stiff, not slouched. Hey, Melanie. Hey, Cloudy. Thanks for joining in. And then please close your eyes and think of something that makes you happy. It can be simple. A scene from nature, seeing the face of an old friend, something that makes your heart smile. And then begin to observe your body, having the will, the intention to take in good energy, noticing what you feel, intending to absorb good energy. So we'll sit for a few minutes in silence and do that. Noticing what you feel, intending to absorb good energy. Really intending to absorb what's good, to fill ourselves up. Really remembering that we're receivers. It's just part of our design, and engaging that, engaging our soul to receive the divine signal, the divine connection. It'd be a little bit of a blow to the ego to contemplate what Bruno said, that we need God, that we're utterly dependent on God. And, before the Almighty, literally that which has all power, a little humility seems reasonable. Before infinity, before the entire ocean, a drop of water, um, humility and deep respect maybe is what's natural. Hmm. Thanks everyone for joining in. Hmm. So, so sometimes I look around the world, I don't think I'm the only one, and I go, what is going on? Talking about, the state of so much suffering and lack of harmony, as Bruno would say, ordnung, lack of balance and natural regulation. Welcome, Russ. Here's what Bruno Bruning has to say about that. What does and what did man do? Destruction. Why? Because he has indeed fallen for Satan. This would not happen had he kept his true human instinct. He lost it. I want to give it back to him. You are already all in a hypnotic state because you have lost your human instinct. So, in essence, um, there's not just a lot of evil operating in this world. Each of us, to some extent, and then humanity as a whole, is being led by evil. Now, that's not a comfortable thing for us to think about. It's easier to think about humanity as a whole, right? But us as individuals, it's very uncomfortable to contemplate. And it's very important to contemplate how much of our, how much of our day or time are we experiencing fear? Are we experiencing anger? How much of our day or time are we focused only on ourselves? Um, as opposed to how much day of our time are we connected to God in service and feeling at peace? So it's not that, and that's for each one of us to reflect on. And 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 to whatever extent that we are guided by evil, it doesn't make us evil. It just means we've fallen for a very good sales pitch, a very deceptive. Satan is often called the deceiver, and not for no reason. So, I'm someone who's been very devoted for a very long time to spiritual things, hardcore meditator for a long time. And it's very humbling when I'm really honest with myself. Yes, there's a deep sense of progress. And oh my gosh, I'm not completely free of evil by any means. There's plenty of still um, fear and resentment and selfishness lingering. So Bruno Green said we need to look, I have to paraphrase this here, but in essence, he said we need to look inside ourselves and be honest with ourselves about what's in here. And we were reading, actually, I'll just read a quote of Bruno's. When a piece of clothing becomes dirty, it must be cleaned. Everything has to be cleaned, but man has not thought of cleaning himself. He's thought of everything, all respects to him. Man has created a lot on this earth, but he didn't think of himself. His outer appearance is pure and clear, clean to look at, but it's only outside the body. But he has not gotten around to cleaning up the inside. And so I'm not, building a nuclear bomb or plotting some evil deeds. So, because we have this idea that evil's like, you know, only, you know, murder and terrorist acts and like these really big things. But we need to just be mindful that evil's, anxiety comes from evil, as does illness, as does selfishness, as does all these unfun things. And so Bruno called people to reflect on themselves. He said, consider every thought, every action, every word, and see if he said, call yourself to order and see if you have thought and spoken and acted correctly. So it's very easy to be like, well, the world is full of evil and run by evil. But the other thing is to really reflect on ourselves and see to what extent. And again, it's uncomfortable to say, it's uncomfortable to think about, but to what extent are we, each of us as individuals, out of habit, following evil? And again, we've only done this because we've lost what Bruno calls our true human instinct, or lost connection to it. It's still there, it's just buried. And so Bruno sees his mission as, he said, he, meaning people, have lost it, the true human instinct. I want to get it back to him. That's what Bruno sees as his work, is helping us learn the difference between good and evil. So let's spend a little time reflecting on all this, continuing to observe the body, continuing to take in the good, remembering that just because we've taken on evil doesn't mean we are evil. Bruno was so adamant that the human being is and remains divine. Recognizing our need for God in every sense of the word, guidance, life, our very existence, but also to free ourselves or be freed and overcome this mysterious force Bruno called bosse, nastiness, viciousness, evil. The beautiful thing is, hmm, thanks, Claudie. Now, the beautiful thing is in this path of healing, of in recovery of our soul and free, having our both freeing ourselves and having our soul freed. We don't we do need to come to self-reflection, but we don't have to figure everything out. There's a lot of grace on this path. And so I'd like to share a healing that happened to me. And so all my life, once I started, I became most aware of it once I started driving. I don't know if it was when I was younger than that. Whenever I saw a police officer, I would just tense up when I was driving. And I didn't know why. Didn't make any sense to me. Wasn't a big deal either, but I definitely, and if a police officer was driving behind me, then I would just be tense the whole time. And then, but I didn't think much of it. It was just seemed kind of odd to me. Um, and then I started to tune in and practice this regularly. Practice tuning in regularly. And then one day, a police car was behind me, and I noticed I was relaxed. I was very surprised, and so I turned right, and the police car turned right. And I was very, very surprised that I stayed relaxed. And then I turned left, and the police car turned left, and I was still relaxed. And I wasn't worried, but I was starting to have this concern of like, oh, maybe I'm going to get a ticket. But I wasn't actually stressed. It was very interesting. And then I just kept driving, and it veered off to the left and went its own way. And I was just shocked because I'd had this for, at that point, it would have been something like 25 years. I just had this fear. I didn't know what it was about, but it was very regular. It was dependable. And so I just was like, wow, cool. And then about 2 or 3 months later, while I was tuning in, a memory came to me. And this memory was when I was 5 years old. And it was late at night, and I think I was supposed to be in bed, or I was getting ready for bed. And there was a TV show on, and this person saw a police officer. This person was in distress, and then was like, "Oh, thank God, officer, I need help." But the officer ended up being a bad guy, and I'm not going to describe what happened, but ended up hurting the person. And I was terrified as a 5 year old because I thought police officers were safe, and my world had just felt shaken up. I was utterly terrified when the police officer ended up being a bad guy. And I was tuning in, and that memory came back to me, and I was like, oh, that's where the fear, that's where it came from. All the way back from 5 years old. So we may not recognize all the burden, all the evil. Now, obviously, as a 5 year old kid, I wasn't being evil going into fear, but fear is from evil. So, in essence, I didn't stay connected to God, and I took on some evil in that moment, which had been with me my whole life and had been impacting me. Obviously, not deeply impacting me, but the beautiful thing is that this wasn't something that I asked to be healed. I just tuned in. It left one day, and then a couple months after it left, it all became clear to me what it had been about and what was going on. So this is so significant to me because that means things can be healed that we aren't even aware of. Things can be healed that we don't even ask that they be healed. We just take this energy in, we hand over the things we're conscious of that don't feel good, but then we just put our trust in God and Bruno, and things heal. The first physical healing I experienced was not something I asked to be healed. There were much more important things, and um, so what this shows me is that God and Bruno are, 1,000 times wiser than I am, and in essence, they have everything taken care of. That we don't we don't have to understand everything. We don't have to analyze. We just have to have faith and do our best. And things can heal that we're not even aware of. So let's spend a little time reflecting on this. So we looked a little bit at start at the problem. The problem is evil in various forms. And from the story, I hope you can see that some of the ways we take on evil and hence are guided by and led by evil doesn't make us evil. It doesn't make me an evil person for having taken on fear and carried it for so long. Just someone who lost their connection to God, who believed some untrue thoughts. So let's spend a little time really reflecting on that so much help and healing is available. taking in the good, asking to be freed from what's not good, just deciding I don't want to have anything to do with evil anymore, handing over the things we become aware of, and trusting. Hmm. So Bruno Gröning said, it's just about one thing, really, about that which is purely divine, what is inside man, and that is his soul. To save the soul, dear friends, the purely divine soul, that it is not grasped by Satan's claws, that is what this is all about. So ultimately, Bruno Gröning's work is about completely freeing the soul from evil. He said, let's just say that I am the little soul caregiver. I take care of the soul. I open it up. I know how to open it up to set man free. So I'd like to thank everyone for joining in. I always feel a little uncomfortable when I spend a gathering talking about evil. And the reason why I do it is because Bruno did. And he called us to be very mindful of it. He also called us not to dwell on problems. So it's this interesting thing of being mindful and understanding how evil operates without getting fixated on a particular burden or issue. So let's close with a minute of silence or so, really reflecting that what this is all about, the work of Bruno Gröning is all about, is freeing the soul from evil. And that our friend Bruno Gröning says he knows how to do that. Whether you believe that or not, that each of us has to take to heart and really reflect on it. to thank everyone for joining in today. Hmm. So we took a look at the idea of what's happening in the world, which is that human beings are guided by evil and hence on a path of destruction. And then we're also, Bruno presented us with the solution, cleaning ourselves out inwardly, cleaning out the inside. And that in fact, that's what Bruno Gruning's work is all about. And actually, I'd like to close with something that Bruno Gruning said, because this can be a little scary. We're talking about not a little, we might feel a little fear about the fate of the world, or we've been, talking about evil. And Bruno Gruning said, that in essence, that God has given us free will as human beings to choose good or evil, and will allow us to continue to choose evil, but only up to a certain point. And here's what he said. This is from Powers of the Spirit, page 147. As long as life on earth as a whole is not in danger, then God's forbearance continues. So Bruno Gruning said that God will not allow this earth to be destroyed. That's evil's goal here on earth. That's how evil just doesn't want to create nasty life on earth, unfun, miserable life. Evil wants to destroy this planet. And Bruno said God will not allow that to happen. And in fact, that Bruno's coming was actually to prevent that. So while God has given us free will as children to play and to misplay and to create havoc and destruction, it only goes so far. And then Bruno says God will intervene and that the earth as a whole is protected. I personally take a lot of comfort in that. So, very deep, very intense topic. Please reflect on it, and I'd be very desirous to hear people's comments and feedback. Thank you so much, everyone. Wish you a glorious morning, afternoon, and evening. And while there's a lot of chaos all around us here on this world, here on this planet, the earth herself is safe and sound. And our soul, while it can be clutched, while it can be covered, our soul is also safe and sound. Take care. Much love.